Welcome to another episode of How We Bounce Back. We have a special Halloween-related episode to gear you up for this weekend. But tonight's guest is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I've known him for over 10 years. We went to rival high schools in the same hometown, but we're all friends now. He currently resides in a city where there are monsters in the Midway. He's an alumni of the JMU Dukes. He's a former prom king of Hilton High School. He's the adopted son of Uncle Mike's restaurant in Chicago. He's the man of the hour. He's Christian Sosa. What's going on, bro? What's new with you recently?
What an introduction. Wow.
Absolutely,
Thank
brother.
you so much. Great to see you. First off, let me say thank you for thinking of me and inviting me on. I think this is such an incredible idea, and you're probably one of the most high energy and positive people we all know, so it makes sense that you thought to do this. I'm happy you did this, and also more importantly, happy to see that you're healthy and doing better. So
appreciate that, man.
In a way, love to see how you're bouncing back. So
yeah, appreciate that.
Yep.
So what's been new with you recently, bro? Like, I know you had a jam-packed summer. You were, you're transitioning from a job that you were at for 5 years. You're cross-country, road tripping, doing all kinds of hikes. Like, I think you started a new job. We talked about it before the show. You're starting a new job next week. What's up? How are you feeling right now?
Good, man. I when I first moved to Chicago back like July 10th, 2015, I started my job 3 days later, and I've been there for 5 years. So I finally quit that, went on that road trip to all the national parks in the Rockies, and then I start next week, Monday. So I had a nice little 2-month fun employment situation where I just kind of was hanging out in Chicago and doing my thing, and it's been awesome. I feel great. I can't wait to get started, but I finally have some more stuff to do during my days instead of just trying to walk around and read and learn Portuguese and just finding hobbies to keep myself occupied.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Well, it's a transitional time. Glad that you hung in there. A lot of people's jobs are affected during COVID. Glad to see that, you're about to get things up and running, especially, as winter comes along. So it's awesome to hear, bro.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to keep this very Halloween theme related. So, of course, Halloween weekend is coming up. We're going to go ahead and start off with that. What was your top 3 favorite costumes growing up?
Man, I'm a big costume person all my life.
If you want to stick with college or young adult life, we can go ahead and go rated R if you want, but up to you.
So all my premeditated costumes were all as a kid. I usually do a last second thing since I've been an adult, and they always somehow work really well. But growing up, my favorite people ever, Batman and so. I mean, I was them every year alternating essentially. So I'd have to say them two. And then I think over the years, just the random stuff I've put together, one of my favorite ones has been Jafar that I did last year, just because
yes.
all of them have been last minute, but this was the most last minute put together one, and it worked well. And I was just, I was happy with it.
Hey man, that you played that well. I remember just your facial expression, the serious Jafar antagonist look. Played it off so well, bro.
Man,
I think you might need to relocate to LA, and then Disney Studios can hire you for the sequel. But hey, up to you.
Don't tempt me. I've been trying to become an actor. Got to get my start.
For sure, bro. Okay. Well, I do also want to ask. Virginia is, well, I guess in Chicago there's different seasons. LA, the folks out here, there's not a lot of different seasons, so Halloween might not have a good sense of theme being in the city. But I know back home in VA, it was big, right? For Halloween, we had the haunted hayride. We had the Fright Fest at Kings of Million. I'm not sure if
Oh
you did
yeah.
that. Yeah. And then we had kids running around the street trying to scare each other, scream costumes. You know, we're all going crazy in the neighborhood. I do want to ask, growing up, do you got any spooky stories related to Halloween when you were a kid?
Oh man, I'm a October baby, so October and Halloween and fall are just my favorite times of the year. Like by far and away, nothing compares. Um, Spooky stories. I mean, man, growing up in Woodbridge, I just you'd always run into the older kids that are trick candy. I remember me, I'm like in seventh grade. We probably shouldn't have been trick or treating anyway, but like there's a bunch of older kids coming like trying to take our bag from us, and we just like stood our ground and didn't let them do it. And
Oh,
that
bullies.
was like a
Yeah.
frightening time because it was like a gang of like six guys, and we're like, nah, we're not letting this happen. That was like a
Yeah.
true thing. But beyond that, I mean, we used to always try to do harnesses. A couple years ago, I went to Austin, and they had like one of the bigger haunted houses in the area that
Oh,
we try to
wow.
do. So I love doing that. Like love horror movies and spooky,
Yeah,
as weird as that
man.
may seem. But
And well,
see what
that's
you
good
feel.
to hear. I mean, hey, you know, I remember growing up, we just had that haunted hay house, and someone would whip out that chainsaw, and that was just the most frightening thing I've ever seen. You know,
That sound is the most terrifying thing as a kid. Like I
Even if
just
it was
remember
a
watching Texas
chain, like,
Chainsaw Massacre all the time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was like, yo, just miss me with that. Let's avoid that. Let's do everything else. But that one's too close to home.
Oh
Too
yeah, for
scary.
sure, for sure, for sure. All right, man. Well, switching gears, I think we're gonna go with your favorite subject right now. Let's talk about food. You know, I know you love food. Everyone loves food. Charles loves food. You know, you showed me
Charles
a
and I
lot.
collab a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you showed me a lot when we visited Chicago. You know, at least when I was there, we had Uncle Mike's. You know, we had Cheval, right? You know, we had a lot of great
Two
food in your
staples. Yeah.
city. Yeah, two staples. They're starting to become probably stereotypical for a lot of locals there. I know Illuminati's like a lot of Chicago folks are getting tired of it. So it is what it is. I thought it was really good. But
To
I
be
do want
honest,
to
I'll never get
ask,
tired of it. Yeah.
yeah, you can never get tired of pizza. I do want to ask, what is your favorite burger of all time?
Ah, man, that's a loaded question. A favorite type of burger. Do I do a cop out and say al cheval? I mean, it really is that good, but I do love the ones that try to do something different and like there's one place around here called Owen and Engine that has like caramelized onions and like sesame seed bun, and like I just
Right.
love the switch up, and like so it's always refreshing. Like I'll try something new and I'll just say that is my new favorite burger. Then I'll try al cheval
All the
again and be
time.
like,
Yeah.
damn, it's just so good. So I think for now I'm gonna say al cheval, but man, I've tried a ton. Like I over quarantine, I've just to do my part of helping small businesses, as I tell myself, was
Amen.
delivering or
Yep.
getting delivery from all these burger spots to try them all, and
Hmm.
each one is good in its own. But I think al cheval might still take the cake.
Oh, okay. Okay, man.
What about
Man,
you?
that bacon of oh, dude, that's a hard one. Oshaval is up there, but there's another place in DC. I don't know if you heard it. It's called Duke's Grocery. It's in
I've heard of
DuPont.
it. I've always wanted to try it. Yeah.
Charles introduced me to that actually, and they had like this. The bacon was like, man, it was like a Canadian bacon, but it was just thicker, and like just the way the burger melted. Man, bro, that, and it was
Uh,
on a brie bun too. I think they had a fried egg on it as well, so it was a little messy. But you know, a burger is so good is when it's not too messy and they got a lot of stuff on it. So
I eat fast. When I know it's gonna be messy, like I see it spilling, I'm like, all right, well, the only thing I could do is just eat this in like 5 bites and just
yeah,
go and
yeah,
just. And I look around like, what are
yeah,
y'all doing? Y'all
yeah.
still eating? Y'all have any
Yeah,
more?
for sure, for sure. There's a
The bacon is
strategic way
definitely
to
big.
eat a good burger for sure.
Yeah, I can't put it back down. My hands already messed. I already
Oh
call it
no,
a.
not at all. Yeah, if there's
Yeah.
fries, that fries is coming second. Yeah,
Yep.
hear you on that,
Yep.
bro. I do want to ask. We also talked about this before the show. We're always neck and neck in that Nike Run Club app, bro. You know, I always see.
I,
You know, you're ahead of me, you're behind me.
well, I think you're gonna run away with it now. No pun intended. But I think the once the gyms kind of opened up here, I started going back and like I started randomly doing like spin classes and changing
Oh,
up the way I
great,
do cardio,
great.
especially because now it's starting to get kind of cold again.
Yeah.
Chicago, like it'll go from like a 50-degree day to like a 80. Um, so you might have me beat if LA still holds on to its warmth. You'll be outside more than I am. But like I said, anytime I saw you post something about me being down, I wake up at like 7 a.m. and like fully not intending to even work out at all. And like, all right, straight from bed, just put the shoes on and just run outside until my knees hurt. And I'm like, I can't let people beat me. Like I can't, and I can't let you call attention to it. So
Oh
if you post it again, I'll just go out and run right now. Like,
yeah,
even
yeah.
after this,
I hear you. Hey, man, it's
it's a good
competition.
motivational thing.
Before we dive into the deeper questions, I did something similar with AB 2 weeks ago, but let's play a quick picture association game. I'm going to put 6 pictures of famous movie characters up on the screen. All you have to do is name someone you know personally that can be that famous character for Halloween. So we're helping you out if you don't have your Halloween costume decided yet. You got, I think, 2 or 3 days to get that costume, but we're going to help you all out right now. So, all right, here you go. We have Ron Burgundy.
This one's tough. I mean, the stash. It, I can't even think of anybody who can grow a stash back then. I'm thinking of all of our friends who can't even grow any facial hair. Um, is it cliche to say me?
No, not at all, man. Like you rock the Jafar one. I
I can't
feel
think
like
of anybody with a nice stash
I think you've
in
done the
Woodbridge.
stat. I think you've done the stash during November too, No Shave November, where you kind of I
I've
don't
been
know if you kept the beard or not, but
I've been doing the stash and changing it up a lot more frequently. So I need to get that hair. I mean, you might not know him, but my old roommate JMU, he could actually probably pull this off. Tom Bro,
okay,
he rocks a
I
nice
see.
stash. Yeah,
Oh, okay. We'll make sure he hears about this. Special shout
yeah.
out to Tom.
Another JMUer. Yep.
We have Storm from X-Men.
I mean, do I say Jasmine? Jasmine Ellis? I think she'd kill that.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. Yeah, Halle Berry playing this legendary role right here. She looked like she's about to like take out Magneto and all those fools, but yeah,
Right. I actually think Jasmine should make a painting of this. It's actually pretty dope.
yeah,
Shout out
yeah.
Jasmine. There you go. It's really
Absolutely.
real.
Now we have Wonder Woman.
Hmm. I think I'll have to say Lacey.
Oh, okay. Shout out to Lacey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of your sister. That's one of your best friends from back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, she was the strongest one out of all of us. So she was always Wonder Woman. Yes.
Absolutely. We have Genie from Aladdin.
I thought it looked like Simo.
Boy, stop! Hey, you give Simo that idea, he'll turn it around in
Ah,
2 days. You know he will.
I know, but I mean, he has enough hair right now where he can really do something with that. Use like a cap and do that. He got the beard. He
Yeah,
could pull that
yeah.
off. He could rock that.
I feel like
Now he has like that same smile. It's so funny.
I feel like he's thought about this already, but now it's a tipping point. We
100%.
convinced
Now
him.
he's in. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
right. Somebody has to play Aladdin. You got to get the whole crew. Oh, bro.
We have
I mean,
Thanos from Avengers.
it has to be AB, right?
Now you're
No
giving
offense,
AB
that
yo
just because he's
AB.
big.
Yeah, man. He AB has been creative with Halloween costume. He was Moana one year, or actually the
I
character.
saw
Sorry,
that.
the Rock played in
You're
Moana.
welcome. Yeah,
Yeah. So here we go, AB. I think you have a
he
good.
killed that. He should
Yeah.
definitely do this.
He actually
100%.
should. This is probably one of the greatest antagonists in history, more than Darth Vader. I feel like, man, he wiped out
Don't
all of the half of the superheroes. But AB,
don't
hope you're hearing us out.
don't hate me, AB.
Awesome. Thanks for playing, Christian. All right, brother, let's dive into the deeper questions. First question I want to ask, can you describe a time in grade school, college, or in your career that you had to knock down obstacles or systems hindering your success due to systemic racism?
Yeah, I mean, it's been I feel like it's been a pretty wild ride as a Latino in America, as you can guess, and obviously empathize. I mean, you hear it all the time. These different
Absolutely.
insults that you hear all your life, and when you're getting called kind of derogatory terms, and just a kind of an allegory is just from elementary school. Not many people know this, but growing up, I was convinced like I didn't like being Hispanic. In elementary school, I was such a target for ridicule. I mean, obviously, kids don't know any better, but I was different than all of them. I'd get made fun of for my last name, which is odd because back then I hated it. I wanted nothing to do with it. Now everyone is like obsessed with this name, and you got rappers calling themselves Sosa and all this. But I get made fun of when I spoke Spanish, and it got to the point that I was embarrassed to speak it, and like I refused to speak it for years outside of the house, even in the house sometimes. And I think that's my biggest regret is I went years feeling that way and ashamed that I was different. And I saw all the kids and their parents talking to each other, to the teachers, no problem, all normal. And then my parents, had an accent, and I was obviously never ashamed of them, but I was always confused as to why we were so different than the normal kids at school. I think throughout elementary school and middle school is kind of just fighting being that minority and not understanding that why I was and why I was so out of place. Um, and yeah, I mean, like my dad had a far thicker accent. A lot of times people couldn't understand him, and so I felt bad because I think when people don't understand an accent, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, but like Americans or people that don't speak that language like dismiss them. I've heard people say that before. They
Right.
just think lesser of them because they don't feel they're smart enough to have a conversation with them. So you see this all the time, and like convenience stores, dry cleaning, small business owners who are immigrants and now more and are now proud citizens.
Yep.
They probably had a far better education over there in their country and know far more languages and have seen and
Yep.
experienced more of the world than you, but they're dismissed because they don't speak English well. And not that I know if anyone has thought that of anyone in my family or anything, but it truly would, break my heart to know if they did, because, people like my dad he's like everyone's favorite person, the sweetest,
Right.
funniest, most gracious host and dad, uncle. And just because he doesn't speak it well, it doesn't mean he's any lesser. Um, I think growing up with that, it was always confusion of who I am, why do I speak a different language? Why do I act a different way? Why do I have a different culture than everyone? And it was a struggle to kind of find my identity in that area. And really, Woodbridge, you've seen, is a big melting pot. I think at that
It is.
beginning stages, it wasn't as much. And growing up, and as I kept getting older, more people like me started coming in, and actually, like, yeah, high school. Like, I'll tell another story. Obviously, I played football at Hilton, all 4 years, and Hilton is like majority black and Hispanic, and then white is probably right after that. So safe to say that the football team was predominantly black, and I may have been one of 3 or 4 Hispanic players in my entire time there. So I remember in high school, like, I'm hanging out with the team, like they're my brothers, my closest friends, and I didn't see that we were that different. And Hilton had like
Yep.
a Spanish hallway and a Spanish cafeteria designated to like Hispanics. Like it truly was segregated. It was
Wow.
weird. And I'd be with my team. We'd go get food, and I remember this clearly. This Hispanic guy I knew from middle school, he goes up to me and he says, "Hey man, what are you doing with all those black guys? Like, why don't you sit with us in your own kind?" And I literally froze. I was like, "What the fuck do you mean?" Like, I literally was in shock because it's legit segregated. I'm like public enemy number one without knowing it, like a Hispanic
Right.
guy hanging out with black people. So it was so opposite of my experience from elementary school, where I was the only one. And now in high school, there's a ton of people like me, but I don't care. Like I've come to terms that like I love my culture, but I'm not going to segregate myself
Yeah.
or be away from other people that I love. Like it didn't matter to me if you were Hispanic or not at that point. It was just like, you're a good person. I want to be around you. My team was everything at that point. And, come to find out later on, lot of those guys were part of MS-13. So I think they were trying to initiate me into something. They were always trying to get me to hang out, do stuff. And it's crazy at a freshman level, I can really see how easy it is to go down the wrong route if you don't have that
Right.
mental fortitude. Like I could have easily been like, yeah, I'll hang out. Like, what do I know? And it was just so bizarre. It was the opposite of that experience. And, um, and then now, professional years, it's kind of the same thing going back to elementary school. I'm the only minority again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been an interesting thing at JMU. 1% of the population is Hispanic. In the professional career, I've been like the only one, if not maybe out of 3 again. And so it's been a weird way to process that and kind of deal with that over time with people kind of taking liberties and joking and saying things that are derogatory, but
Right.
they kind of say it with impunity because you can't really say anything back to maybe a white person that lived here forever. Like there really is no insult that can come back and that hit you as hard as when they call you something.
I know what you
or
mean.
stereotype you or something like that. And it's been tough, but I think as the years go by, hanging out with my family more and getting to know more in different cultures, it's man, I am so proud. I couldn't be prouder of who I am with my culture, and I love it. And I realized that everybody probably was making fun of me, like they never had that double life, like the American culture, the Ecuadorian life. Growing up in Woodbridge, like best friends, Sierra Leonean, Filipino, Chinese, Mexican, I grew up lucky knowing all of that, and some people didn't have that type of blessing. So I'm happier for it, and I can empathize with other people who don't understand it. I try to teach them. It's really a teaching moment. But now I'm speaking up more than ever. Obviously, with everything going on, I don't let it slide as much. When people say it and they don't mean it, I want them to understand what they said and how that could hurt somebody. So, long answer there, but yeah, it's been a lot to experience over the years. But it's something that I think obviously America is going in the right way, in the right direction to help everybody kind of in my similar position.
You're so likable, bro. Like you were likable in a sense of like your friends at JMU, which is a predominantly white school, right? Friends back at home, which we have best friends that are black, and and your family, right? You're so likable across many different people. But growing up, I'm sure it was different because like for like with us being young in middle school, like we have that sensitivity. It was hard, and then when we get to high school, we sort of find that corner turn, and we started being proud of ourselves rather than being like not proud of like where we came from. And so what was it in high school that kind of made you feel confident and proud and like, hey, I'm Christian, I am who I am, this is where I'm from? Like what happened in high school that made you say, this is where I am, I'm gonna take this flag and run away with it for the rest of my life? What changed in high
Yeah,
school?
I mean, I think it was just a big realization of like the difference is everything. Like the difference isn't something to be ashamed of. The difference is something to be completely proud of. Like not many people have those differences. And then when I realized there were so many, when I started to learn more backgrounds and cultures, like all my friends, I'd go over to their houses and I'm like, like a Sierra Leonean household is similar to an Ecuadorian household. And like we had, their
Right.
parents came from similar journeys. Like we have the same values, and like there was no reason to ever think differently or poorly about anybody else. Like we're on the same wavelength. We're first generation American dream, and the folks who have been here forever. I mean, like, they're at a young age, obviously, elementary, middle school, like no one really knows what they're doing. They're doing things, and they don't realize the effect they have on people. I think in high school is when you start realizing like I shouldn't have stopped speaking. Like I shouldn't have ever been ashamed of this. Like
Yeah.
Spanish is the best tool you can have
Yep.
right now in America. Like English and
Yeah.
that
Oh my
bilingual,
gosh. Yeah.
and it's like, well, oh, like even my mom, and like I felt like she was so saddened by me like refusing to do it, but I was just so like it really took a toll on me from what people were saying, that I thought I was like ashamed. And then I realized like high school was, everyone was taking Spanish classes and they were looking at me like, oh, like, can we learn from you? Like, can you speak Spanish to your parents? I want to hear it. And I was like, really? Like, I felt like embarrassed to do it, but then I was like, I guess I know it. Yeah, why not? And then you just start realizing like you're ahead in a certain way, especially with like a professional life. Having it, having those two languages to take with you and being able to run with that is so beneficial. And for travels and everything, like,
Yeah,
I just want to keep learning different ones. And I can't believe the thing that made me ashamed is now the thing I'm most proud of. It's funny how that works. But yeah, I think high school is where it really realized like there's nothing to be ashamed of. The more different you are, the better it is. And if you do find some people similar to you, then that's awesome, because then you can really empathize with each other and learn from each other from your different backgrounds, and that way you can both progress and move forward.
absolutely. And it's it's by what we're given, what we're blessed in, right? So sometimes we don't realize it because we don't have the certain experiences to know, and sort of be aware. And like by the time we get to high school, we're kind of familiar. We meet new and different people that help recognize, and we're always learning in life, right? We're always meeting new people, different friends from different backgrounds, different races. So we're very fortunate, I'll say, coming from a Northern Virginia area, which is very diverse. I feel like that's just a product of a lot of urban cities like in New York and LA, even Chicago, or in DC, where the suburban areas can have diversity. But yeah, man, it's very fortunate, and it's a blessing that we do recognize that. But there's still a lot of way to go.
Right. Yeah, it was eye opening, kind of going to JMU and then actually moving to Chicago. From a lot of people that moved from Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, predominantly white, non-diverse cities, and at JMU too, and kind of talking to them, and like having my friends visit from Woodbridge, and then meeting them, and like then getting down to like the facts is like they'd be like, I only had one black person in my high school. I only had one Spanish person in my like they never grew up around it, and I just feel
It's
like that's
crazy.
so
Yeah,
not
it was
you're just
crazy.
not
Yeah, yeah.
fortunate. Like we're fortunate to have that
Very fortunate.
diversity. Like
Yep.
it's not their
Yep.
fault, but it's a teaching moment. You have to constantly teach them why all the
Hmm.
different cultures, and why things are different, why you should
Yeah.
act a certain way, or you shouldn't say certain things.
And by that's a great point you do bring up, because by design, for those folks that do not see other races in their like cities or towns where they grew up, they don't learn because they don't have that, they don't cross paths with those people. So it's just I think it evolves over time as the generations move on, as we expand. America, by design is a young country, but people have to be receptive to this too, and we have to be able to people have to be compassionate. And I feel like you have the greatest compassion to like hear out from the so many different people from different backgrounds. You went to JMU, you're now in Chicago. You cross paths with so many different people in life. So we do appreciate you sharing that insight, bro. That's so meaningful, impactful for everyone else. So, bro, I know, like, throughout your life, like I just mentioned, you went to JMU, moved back to DC, moved to Chicago. So first of all, before we start talking about Chicago, moving away from home after graduating and starting your own life, your parents are not there to fall back on. Well, they are kind of, I guess, but like you really
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
try to prove it on your own, right? You pay your rent. You got to figure out how to register for a license in your new state or city, right? If you have a car, you got to figure that out. Or if you got, it's a lot, right? It's also like, wow, I'm deep out here in a different place in America on my own. Okay, so what do I do next? I'm sure there's a lot of transitional times in our lives where we feel some type of way. And like for me, looking at you, so I've known you since high school. You seem to always have an upbeat attitude. You've always Nothing ever phases you. I remember visiting you at JMU. You were always like the party king down there, and then DC. Like you always kept an even tone about yourself. Always kept it cool, bro. But we're all humans, and I know we've all felt some type of way in transitional points in our life. I do want to ask, have you ever felt depression what would the person you are today, if you did feel that depression, tell that person you were before?
Yeah, I mean, taking the plunge to a different city without your family and like I chose Chicago because I didn't really know anyone here, and that was to challenge myself. Because in DC it was just you're seeing all the same friends, you're doing all the same things, which is great, but at the same time, like I'm the type of person that I have to do something different, or else I just go nuts. And like to be honest, if I stayed, I thought I would have probably felt like some sort of depression coming on from one way, and like when you move to another city, there's a big chance that you feel it another way, from loneliness and from not um, having those resources near you, all the friends that you've been so close with, and all your family that you can just talk to about anything and fall back on. So um, I took the plunge to challenge myself. It's been 5 years and I've loved it, but I did. I mean, I did have a period where I really was depressed. And I mean, like, I think a lot of people our age are actually facing this more than ever, and especially men. I mean, guys,
Yeah.
obviously, toxic masculinity has been at the forefront of conversations nowadays, rightfully so. And I think what boys are taught to be is so detrimental, and that's a societal issue, and it's also a
Yep.
cultural issue. Like, in Asian and Hispanic, Middle Eastern cultures, they want males to be such a prototypical primitive type of man. You deal with your situation, you don't cry, you're told to buck up and whatever that means. So I think pride really is the number one killer for men, and
A hundred
I don't even
percent.
mean that lightly. Like that truly has led to,
That is the
I think,
perfect answer.
suicides. Yeah, and so I think
Yep.
so many guys want to be considered tough and convince themselves they're tough like other men, and don't want to let their guard down. So the wall is up, and so when you face certain obstacles like going to a new city and you go without knowing anybody, you got the in Chicago, it's the seasonal depression. You got so many things going on. Um, you know, tough isn't about not crying or showing no vulnerability. It's being tough is about how you bounce back and how you react to adversity. Tough is when you lost someone, you react, and then eventually your next move is a positive one. It's not ignoring a situation or making light of it. It's tackling it head on. So for me, I mean, to backtrack, like for me, it stemmed within a span of a year and a half during a crucial time in my life, like my senior year going into college. I had 6 different people pass away within a year, and so I've only ever had one person ever before that. And with each one, I conditioned myself to show less emotion. I bottled up every time. I hid it because I wanted to not look weak or vulnerable. And obviously, in hindsight, I think how stupid is that? And that's a root for what caused me to see some depression in Chicago, because when I started feeling stuff, I bottled it up. I moved to the side. I didn't think of it. I just kept trying to do that. So, here when you're alone and you're in a new place without all the people well, the only minority, the winner, stuff going on with your family that you're missing out on or can't help with, like that tests you and brings you down. And when I faced new problems or had new emotional squabbles, I continue to hold it and compartmentalize it. I continue to bottle it up because I didn't want to show emotion. But I think looking back at it now, it's kind of like it could have easily been avoided if I just showed my showed my emotion and felt something. But I think if I
Mhm.
were to tell myself back then, it's just let it out. Like you understand now as a 28-year-old or 29-year-old, I guess, um, who you are. If you're an emotional person, just be an emotional person. Like don't try to hide it. Just feel the way you do. Talk to people. Reach out to your friends. Don't feel like you can do it all on your own. And so I think
Yeah.
that was the big thing. It was like I made the decision to go out on my own, so I got to do this on my own. But parents are a call away. They're an hour and a half flight. Like my best friends are an hour and a half flight. Like it really isn't too tough. And I think it's just that toxic masculinity. You just try to think you try to be tough. You try to do everything on your own, and you
Hmm.
don't need anybody to help you. You don't want to share your feelings. You don't want to feel. You don't want anyone to think you're weak or vulnerable. But at this point in my life, I'm just like, I'll just say what I feel.
Hmm.
And I think it's really helped me kind of get out of that a little more.
Yeah. Hey, man, that is absolutely meaningful to hear you recognize that, because people, the one thing you said is pride. And I feel like pride consumes us so much, especially with social media, with how we appear to other people. People are not willing to be vulnerable or like show weakness or and sometimes just showing that is like that very 1 ounce or multiple ounces of boosting you to be have a higher morale than where you previously were, and like that's why I that it hits me home, bro, when you talk about pride. I looking at the camera right now. I have family members. I have a lot of people I know that let pride stand in their way from really crossing that path in terms of bettering themselves, recognizing that they can move to the next level, recognizing their flaws and improving from them, because those flaws will always linger if you're going to hold on to that pride so hard. They'll linger for so long until you have grandkids. I'm telling you, I've seen like a lot of older people that still hold on to
Yeah.
their pride for so long. And it's great that we can be open and vulnerable, and that means a lot. And self recognition is going to be one of the best things that a human being can ever hold. And you, my friend, are definitely have shown forth with that. Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like I do have to credit like my last relationship for that. I mean, it was finally somebody who wanted to break down my walls and force me to show myself for the first time. So it was like a
Right.
cleansing. Like, oh, this weight is lifted. I can just say what's on my mind and be
Yeah.
emotional in front of someone with no repercussions. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do I think was going to happen?
And to your point, like it sometimes it's hard to like break out of that pride shell by ourselves. So it will take someone else to kind of like humanize us, humble us, take us back. That's a good point that you bring up. Like reach out to someone, right? Speak out and seek for the help, and seek the ones you love. Say it to the people that you love, and I'm
Right.
glad that you do recognize. I mean, I know you said ex-girlfriend. That's a past right now, but like you do that, she was an important piece to really recognize that. So I do want to ask, bro, if there's one big piece of advice you can tell the audience, what will it be?
So I mean, can I do multiple, like
Yeah,
three or
please
four?
do. Please do.
Okay.
Oh, this
So I
is
think
beautiful.
well, these are more so like I think what's helped me like there. I mean, it was dark at one point. Like I was truly not happy, like at all. And you wear this mask in public, you go home, you have another face underneath, and I don't think anyone really knows that because I try to stay positive and be energetic and never again show my weakness or vulnerability. But I think I hope if somebody who felt the same way I do and still is hiding it, like this at least helps because it got me out of it. Like I purposely was always single. I wanted my own freedom, but like once I got in a relationship, it really was like somebody to talk to that like grasped everything. And so I think just talk to people, like just really actually discuss how you feel, reach out to family, to friends, whether you made the move like I did and like didn't know anyone, talk to your old friends, talk to new people, but really reach out and discuss everything that's going on, how you feel. The more you talk about it, the more that is lifted off your shoulder, because you're really just again bottling it in. So and
Yeah.
maybe if you don't have someone to talk to, write it down, read it out loud, and just the more it comes out of you, the more like you feel more pressure coming off and more relief. um, Delete social media. I mean, get away from TV. Go outside. You talked about it earlier, the social media, and we see that all the time. And like that new doc, Social Dilemma, and everything is talked about it
Hmm.
all the time. Of just like how they really try to like you're constantly phasing yourself or comparing yourself to other people and based on your likes and whatever. Like it's everything's so negative, and then all the news channels and everything that's going on in the world. Like it's important to know and be aware, but it also is pure negative info coming straight to your head, like at your fingertip all day. Like delete it, go away, go outside. Don't listen to all that constant negativity. It's going to burn you out. And just try to do stuff that makes you happy. Pick up old habits. Be active. Work out, like Nike Run Club, like that. If we didn't go outside and run during quarantine, like I honestly would have gone nuts. Like it's a mind clear, and you start seeing, like you talked about, you probably lost some weight too. Your physical image will do a lot more for you than you think. Like once you start seeing progress, you realize you did this, like you took control, and made a change and you feel better, like you took complete control of your life, and now you saw the results from it. So that serotonin will flood in. And then lastly, really, I think for me, like I'm just such a big traveler. Like travel, nothing clears your mind or humbles you, changes your perspective like traveling. And I know with pandemic it's tough, but like I did earlier, I did at least like national parks or something to go outside. But like if you can, um, you know, sometimes when you're down and you start thinking about something and think you've had it bad, like, well, have you been to Ecuador or Cuba, Manila?
Right.
Like, make you grateful for your life real quick, and it's very humbling, and you'll start realizing that some of your problems maybe aren't that big. So I think those couple things are just going to constantly keep you alive and happy, and I think if you continue to do any of those, like you'll just keep getting better.
Christian, beautiful, man. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Lastly, bro, let's close this out on a light-hearted note. What are a few songs in the top 25 most played music in Christian's playlist?
Oh, wow. Damn. I mean, I'm all over the place. If we want to keep it constant, like with the theme, the greatest song ever made is Monster Mash.
Okay. I'm gonna pretend like I know
that. Monster Mash by Boris Pickett. It's the premier Halloween song, but it transcends all seasons. But beyond that, I think so. My favorite artist really will be Sade, Frank Sinatra, and really anything that comes from them is gold. Neil Young. Maybe I'll just hit you with a Spotify link after this. I have a favorite artist one, and you can get in the mind of what makes me happy and tick. Nirvana as well, top 5.
Hey, for everyone listening at home, we'll put this list up at the end of the credits, so not to worry about that.
Yeah. NERD, shout out Virginia, Pharrell.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, Pusha, yeah. I'm a Drake fan, but Pusha definitely could cook his ass up.
I'm Team Pusha. I'm sorry. I know you said October's own, but I gotta be.
Hey, man. Hey,
I gotta stick with my team.
You did say Pharrell. Pharrell, legendary, bro. Absolutely. 757 all the way, bro. Absolutely.
All day.
Christian, thank you again, brother, for coming on the show. It was a pleasure catching up with you and hearing your story. I'm bouncing all the way back. Bro, appreciate the advice that you've given to this audience. That was so meaningful. I didn't want to cut you off. Keep up the success in Chicago. Bro, definitely let's link up. Me and Rosemary will be home for 3 weeks on Christmas break. So we will be there. We'll hang out. We'll get
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, we will figure it out. And we'll have a mask on, but I heard Clarence be going out no restrictions on crowd. Oh, there you go. See? All right. Mask on. I'm telling you, with COVID restrictions, just have your mask on. That's really what it is. They put the mask.
I keep that motherfucking thing on me.
Yeah, man. Hey, they give us the mask because people don't know how to cover their mouth when they cough. So we will have the mask on, but we'll still be drinking, man. We'll still be celebrating. It will be Christmas, Hey, exactly. Hey, Halloween, Christmas, all be here before we know it. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate everything. Tune in next week for a special post-election day episode featuring the life of the party, Cameron Nash. But until then, y'all have a good time this Halloween weekend. And whether you're hungover or not on Monday or Tuesday, get out there and vote. This guy right here says vote, so go ahead and get out there and vote. We all know how important this election is, so let's make good things happen. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Keep achieving those weekly goals. Stay safe. See you all next week.